The Hyundai Santa Cruz was originally designed as a perfect middle ground between an SUV and a pickup truck, combining the best of both worlds. However, with the inception of the Ford Maverick, the little Korean pickup was swept aside due to its low practicality and somewhat conflicting and polarizing looks compared to the Blue Oval's breadwinner. Thankfully though, Hyundai has realized the error of their ways, and the newest iteration of the Santa Cruz sets out to fix the aforementioned issues and give the Maverick a run for its money. So, let's delve straight into it and check out how the all-new 2025 Hyundai Santa Cruz wows everybody. A redesigned exterior. One of the biggest complaints and criticisms of the Hyundai Santa Cruz was aimed at its exterior styling. It was simply too soft and too overcomplicated to truly encapsulate the feel of a pickup truck, which is why the Maverick managed to easily overtake it in terms of sales. Well, thankfully, Hyundai has gotten the memo, and the 2025 variant of the Santa Cruz has been improved significantly in terms of looks. First of all, the front end has been revised, and the LED accented front fascia has a more retro-inspired look, courtesy of rectangular LED lights, allowing the car to look sharper and meaner. The front bumper has also been simplified, making the car look less cluttered and much cleaner than it used to. If that wasn't enough, Hyundai also decided to introduce quite a bit of rugged elements to the more all-terrain oriented versions of the truck, such as the XRT. This includes a front end that has been kitted out with 2 hooks, black rugged plastics, and a general increase of ruggedness. This transfers to the sides as well, as the black fender plastics make the car look much more potent and serious compared to the pre-facelift, completely reworking the exterior to Hyundai's favor. That said, the Santa Cruz retains its overall shape, meaning that it'll remain quite recognizable in the world of pickup trucks. However, the added rugged flair makes it pop out much better than it used to. And while we wouldn't outright say that we prefer it to the Maverick's traditional looks, we'd say that they're now pretty on par in this regard. However, the exterior isn't the only thing that has changed for the 2025 model year, as Hyundai also announced that the interior has been overhauled. One of the biggest virtues that the Hyundai Santa Cruz had over the Ford Maverick was its interior design. It's both a much more stylish design while also being better built and offering much more intuitive tech than the Blue Oval. Well, believe it or not, Hyundai decided to amplify this with a revised 2025 model, as the Santa Cruz now boasts a refreshed interior. Hyundai decided to introduce a bunch of new techs for the 2025 model, as well as increase the ergonomics of the interior at the same time. For example, one of the most prominent changes is the infotainment screen. Instead of the double screen layout that we were accustomed to, the Hyundai Santa Cruz now boasts a flush single panel layout that seamlessly connects the digital driver's display with the infotainment screen. This makes the interior look even more premium than it used to. The infotainment screen itself has been upgraded and is now larger than the previous generation, clocking in at 12.3 inches. Plus, it's now more responsive, clearer to read, and is generally an improvement on the previous generation. Alongside it, the digital gauge cluster has also been enlarged, and the graphics now look much less generic than they used to. Oh, and if you're worried about your physical buttons going away, no need. Hyundai made everything even more tactile and easier to use. Climate control buttons have been swapped out for dials, which means that using them will be both quick and easy. The general layout of the buttons is also much more logical and intuitive. The steering wheel has also been swapped out for a more traditional 3-spoke design, which we very much prefer compared to the stretched out abomination that the pre-facelift had. The quality remains top-notch for its class, with an abundance of soft touch materials all over the place. The Maverick's interior couldn't compete with the pre-facelift's interior, and this redesign just straight up destroyed it in every way possible. Good job, Hyundai. A very solid choice of powertrains. Although the Hyundai Santa Cruz doesn't come with a hybrid drivetrain, the truck's palette of powertrains is still more than enough to successfully wrestle with the Maverick. Its base engine, the 2.5-liter naturally aspirated inline-4, may not be as frugal as the hybrid Maverick, but it's much smoother and peppier than it. Not to mention that it's also torquier than the hybrid, courtesy of its 8-speed automatic transmission, which also allows the truck to be a much more pleasant thing to be in at higher speeds, especially when compared to the CVT-equipped Maverick. Oh, and let's not forget about the fact that it's also much more reliable than the Maverick. The Maverick's power plant is known for randomly cracking, which could lead to the truck going up in flames. If you ask us, we'd rather much trade a few MPGs and stay safe than drive around in an economical time bomb. The 2.5 turbocharged engine is also noticeably better than the one offered in the Maverick. It has almost 30 more horsepower and 40 more pound-feet of torque, allowing the truck to be much more potent on the road, both in terms of performance as well as pulling stuff. Not to mention that the turbocharged engine also comes with a double clutch gearbox with paddle shifters, making the Santa Cruz a much more engaging car to drive. Speaking of engaging, one of the Santa Cruz's most prominent attributes is its incredible driving dynamics. You see, despite it being a pickup truck, the Hyundai Santa Cruz is a very engaging car to drive. This is because it utilizes a unibody chassis which allows it to retain its composure on the road much better than a body-on-frame pickup truck. And even though the Ford Maverick also relies on a unibody chassis, the Santa Cruz reigns supreme over it in every possible way. You see, Ford designed the Maverick to be a no-thrills kind of car, a basic econobox if you will. There's nothing wrong with it per se, however, it lacks any refinement that would make it stand out. On the other hand, the Santa Cruz is a completely different story. The Santa Cruz's wheelbase is wider and shorter than the Maverick, allowing it to feel more planted and stable compared to the Blue Oval's offering. Not to mention, the suspension is also stiffened up, allowing it to remain much more controllable at higher speeds and in sharp bends, much unlike the vague-feeling Maverick. The Santa Cruz's steering is also sharper, allowing the truck to be much more direct. Finally, all of that has been complemented by the 8-speed auto and the 8-speed DCT, both of which do a great job at keeping the car at its power band flawlessly, albeit the DCT is a bit better. Oh, and if you're worried about comfort, don't be. The Santa Cruz is also more comfortable than the Maverick. Despite having stiffer suspension, the Santa Cruz has comfier seats, and the interior quality just grants you that extra bit of panache and feeling of specialness that adds a lot to the entire experience. But with all of this in mind, it's time for us to check out if the Santa Cruz can beat out the Maverick in terms of pricing and trim levels. Well, to put it shortly, yes and no. You see, the Santa Cruz is a noticeably more expensive truck compared to the Maverick, as it starts at over $4,000 more than it. However, you're getting a much better vehicle for money, which is why we're not certain if you'd consider it greater or lesser value for money. The base SE model starts at around $29,000, and it comes with virtually everything you'll need. Sure, you won't be getting the large 12.3-inch display, and yes, the interior quality will be lower, seeing how you'll get a rubber steering wheel and basic seats. However, even then, it will beat out an equivalently priced Maverick. The SEL is expected to start at $31,000, and for the money, you'll be getting keyless go, remote start, and dual-zone climate controls, making it a solid quality of life upgrade. If you have the money, go for it. The night, however, isn't worth it. Sure, you get the large screen layout as well as bespoke 20-inch wheels, improved interior materials, and the turbocharged 2.5 engine, as well as a black-on-black color scheme. However, its $40,000 price tag is simply way too much, as for the money, you'll essentially be removing any sort of off-road readiness due to its city-oriented spec. The XRT starts at around $2,000 more, and honestly, it's a much better value proposition. For the money, you'll be getting a truck that looks rugged, well-built, and has a wide array of safety and convenience features, such as smart adaptive cruise control and many other trinkets that make this quite a solid value proposition. Finally, the Limited, which starts at $43,000, is again a pretty solid vehicle. Faux leather accents across the cabin, numerous driving assist features, as well as a luxurious-looking exterior make this quite a cool car to own. That said, it is expensive for what it is, especially when compared to the Maverick, which tops out at less than $40,000. Honestly, if you're in the market for a cheap, no-thrills truck, then just stick with the Maverick. The lower-end models are better value than the Santa Cruz. However, we'd argue that the $4,000 price increase for the XLT and Limited over the Lariat and Lariat Tremor is well worth it, as you'll be getting a vehicle that is 2 classes above the Maverick. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.